Mr. Gareth A. Davis, you know what's interesting about this main event? Since this main event was announced, I don't know if you've spotted this, but it was Itauma versus White. That's what I saw. All of a sudden, I've got to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I am here now. And I've noticed that it's changed to Dillian White versus Moses Itauma. I'm like, how did that happen? Why did that happen? I don't know. It's small things, but it was interesting to see that it is now changed to Dillian White versus Itauma as opposed to, or have I read that wrong? Did you not see it as Itauma versus White?
It's a very good point. I mean, it's semantics, obviously, nothing more than that, and nuance. But these are the things you begin to read into big fight weeks when you get there, and you just wonder whether the boxing gods are smiling on a certain person, or people have been jiggling for position in the background, or maybe it's just a mistake on the poster. But who knows? But I mean, look, it's a good sign more than anything because most people are seeing Moses Itauma as the clear winner, as do the bookies, by the way. Moses 5-1 on to win. So I know we'll get into that, but it's been an interesting build-up so far. I mean, look, maybe it should be Moses Itauma first. It is about him. It's about his coming out party. It is about him against a big name for the first time in his career. And Dillian is a big name, regardless of whether you think it's a long time ago that his career was flourishing, if you like. But all these bandied phrases like "last chance saloon" and the coming out party. It's two men having a fight at the end of the day. One's very experienced, 197 rounds, 37 fights, lost only to Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, and Alexander Povetkin, one of which he's avenged. And the other guy's had 12 fights and 25 rounds. So anything could happen, but it may be the birth of a superstar.
Have you started to see a bit of a swing though here? I think when this fight was first announced a couple of months ago, I think everyone in unison was like, "Yep, Moses Itauma." And look, we can only go on what we saw Dillian White do in his last fight, and that was against Ebenezer Tete, where he looked a bit overweight, looked sluggish. Now, all of a sudden, Queensbury have put these clips out of Dillian White hitting the heavy bag. He does look in incredible shape. It's almost like he's
He does.
reversed age. And now I'm starting to see a swing of, oh, you never know, Dillian could old man him. Have you noticed this swing, or is it just in my imagination?
I think I'm looking at the comments of fans, and he's a cult figure, Dillian.
Mm.
He's come up the hard way. He's a survivor. I mean, I've done an off the cuff with him for DAZN years ago, in which he revealed being shot, being stabbed, having to go around postcode gangs in London. The brilliant things that his mother was nurse, cleaner, and dinner lady, 3 jobs, bringing up 12 kids, some of them at home in Jamaica. Him coming over here as a difficult teenager, finding boxing, coming up the hard way, never getting the breaks, and that survivor is an extraordinary character, and I think for that reason he has become well known, and he is loved by people because of what he's done and who he is. He's always I've always found him very fascinating. I've had my ups and downs with him as well. There were times when Dillian could rattle your bones at times, you know. I remember a headline once in the Telegraph, and I got some messages from him late at night, and him saying, "Who the F are you writing these things about me?" And you think, "Oh, it's Dillian." You know, he's got a menace about him. But I think as he's matured, he's got a son, if you remember, older than Moses. You know, Dillian's got a 23-year-old son, so he knows what he's up against here. He knows he's up against a rising talent. He knows he's up against someone that everybody is projecting. We're all projecting onto Moses Itauma at the moment because of that tinge of arrogance he has, and because he's not in awe of anyone, because he's fearless, and it looks like he's got ice in the bones, and he's iced his opponents. But I think there's almost like a popular wave where people want Dillian to do really well. They maybe want him to unseat the young man. They maybe want him to old man him, use his experience, bully him a little bit. And I suppose that's what we're hoping in the fight, all those things.
All right, let's hear from that young man, the man they're already crowning the future of the heavyweight division. Moses Itauma spoke to talkSPORT, and he spoke about getting to grips with now being the headliner.
One of the things I spoke to Frank about last week was the difference in things that you have to do this week, Moses. You're headlining, and it's a new experience for you. You've got face-offs that are being done differently. You've got press conferences that are coming up. Does any of this weigh on your mind? Does any of this make any difference to you now that you are you're the main name above the door?
Of course, it makes a difference because it kind of does drain my energy a little bit. But I know that obviously with boxing, you got a sport and you got the entertainment, and obviously it works hand in hand. But it's just a problem. The only problem is just trying to not let that get to my head.
Is there any jeopardy? I mean, I've not noticed any noise being said from... I mean, Dillian called you Superman the other day and said, I'm going in with somebody that's Superman. Is there any edge to this fight from your side? Is there any jeopardy in terms of any malice towards Dillian? Or is it just a case of, he's in my way, I need to go and continue making points? Or is there any more to this fight than just the fact that he's in your way?
No, 100%. You've just said it there. He's kind of there's no hatred towards Dillian White. Last time we spoke was against when we sat next to each other on the Joe Joyce Hergovich fight, and we was having a normal conversation. And just funnily enough, like 2 weeks later, I got a phone call asking me if I wanted to fight him. So, and I said yeah. It was like it's not nothing kind of disrespectful to Dillian or nothing. Like I think he's a cool guy, but.
He's in your way.
Like you said.
Most of the time there, sometimes you're listening to him and you have to almost just rattle your brain thinking this is only a 20-year-old. Because when you're standing next to him, you almost feel like this is a man approaching his 30s. He seems to be such a mature man for such a young age. And he's now finding all this fame. And it's interesting to see how he's all handling it as well. This is his first headline act. And he's straight into a pay-per-view headline act. He's straight here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Like a lot of things are happening with Moses very, very fast. And I just wonder if it's almost too fast, or is it a case of Frank's, as in Frank Warren has sort of had young fighters and he knows how to, push them at the right stages, or are they jumping hoops too quick here?
Look, conventional wisdom will tell you that they're so smart, they wouldn't be putting him in with Dillian. Maybe put Itauma or Itauma, by the way.
I think this is interesting. I was going to ask his dad. His dad was in the room with me, and obviously it's a Nigerian surname.
Love his dad.
Yeah, and I think the pronunciation is a lot more difficult than we think. I think it's Itauma, but I was going to ask his dad just to get clarification on it. But should we go with Itauma for now?
Itauma. I love Itauma.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get clarification from his dad. And I wish I had already, because I've spoken to his dad several times, and I'm a big fan of his dad, actually. Who I always say to him, you know what, you're the one responsible for this, and he says, no, it's my wife. It's his mother. But because obviously the Eastern European genes, they're all fighters from the mountain village. Did you know that? You probably do know that by now. Well, back to the point. Sorry. The key is the Warrens are smart. Francis, George, and Frank are obviously very smart. Like you say, they brought a number of fighters through. Ricky Hatton fought for the WBU title 18 times before he switched over to win one of the major world titles. It didn't stop him having a massive fan base, but they very carefully curated his career. If they did not believe, after 12 fights and 25 rounds, that Moses was capable of, I say doing a number, that's not the right expression, of performing well and beating a name like Dillian at Riyadh season in the middle of esports week in a fight where it's a breakout fight for him. He's not a household name yet. We're all calling him within the industry a household name. They would not be putting him in the ring if they thought this was a 50-50, 60-40 fight. It's an 80-20 fight, or even a 90-10 fight based on the betting odds. But when I look, I've got a soft spot for Dillian as well. I'm going to admit that. I've got a soft spot for the years I've spent around him, the time he's given me, the storylines, and I've always felt that Dillian will be a world champion. He avenged the Povetkin defeat. He never got a world title shot against Anthony Joshua, and I thought Tyson Fury bested him very well. His best days, I think, were 2018 to 2021. He hasn't been very active in the last 4 years. I'm just giving my reasons. Yes, he's had 3 wins in a row. He avenged the Povetkin defeat. I just think that Moses is too young, too fast, too good at this stage for Dillian, and I think Moses will win, and I think he'll win handily. If it goes beyond 5 or 6, I think Dillian's done something right, and Moses has not been effective enough against Dillian. I don't see this being a 12-rounder.
All right, let's hear from Dillian White, who wasn't too happy with a lot of the media members. Obviously, look, we have, and I say we, myself and Gareth and many have picked Moses Itauma to win this fight, and this is what Dillian had to say when he spoke to Spencer Oliver.
Listen, in their eyes, he's a killer, he's God, I'm nothing. I'm just cannon fodder, so yeah.
You've been face to face with Moses just recently. You know this game inside out, and you know about fight weeks and you know the way that people are. What did you see in him?
Nothing. I didn't really focus on that. I just focused on just doing my job, and that's it. We spoke, said whatever we're gonna say, and that's it. I don't really it's hard to really focus a lot on focus on this and focus on that, and try and pick up, because people sometimes can be misleading in their persona and their body language and what they say and who they are. You know what I'm saying? People can act nervous or act scared when they're not. People can throw you off with. So I don't really focus on that. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of talk about this kid being the next heavyweight superstar. You know, he's been blowing everyone away. You know, what do you make? Just how good do you think he is?
You guys are the expert. You guys say how good he is, and you guys are the expert. I leave that up to you guys. You know.
Dillian White there, basically just saying he's fed up with what the experts are saying and writing him off. And I do think, and Dillian kind of put it on me a little bit yesterday, and it isn't a case of writing him off, because I think, and I said this to Dillian, that if this turns into a dogfight and, as you say, goes past 5 or 6 rounds, then we have a fight here. It's just, and I said this to Dillian, I said, look, I thought you were done after watching your Ebenezer Tete performance. And it's been a long time since we've seen a very good Dillian White performance. You mentioned that, his best days were 2018 to 2021. That's a long time ago. And so we are going to go with the young upstart who's looked like a killer recently. So it isn't a slight on Dillian, because, to be honest with you, if Moses was against 90% of the guys in the top 10, I'd still probably favour Moses. So it's not a Dillian thing. I think it's a Moses thing. It's because I think Moses is so good. But having looked at Dillian yesterday in the face-off, I sat down with him. You can see a man that is very, very determined to prove a lot of people wrong here. And although I am still picking Moses, I think this is going to be a really, really good Dillian performance. I think he's going to old man Moses at times, and Moses is going to have to find something.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to. He's got to use all of experience. So, he's got 8 times as many rounds in the ring. He's got to, as I say, literally old man him. He's got to make sure that, I think even in fight week, I wish Dillian was turning on people even a little bit more and screaming and shouting. But he's playing that game this week. It's not a game, but his stance is, you're all the experts. You're telling me that he's going to knock me out. You're telling me that I'm up against the next superstar in boxing. Look at me. I'm in great shape. He's not actually physically saying that, but I'm in great shape. I've got ready for this, and I'm going to give my all. The problem is when you see Dillian throwing that massive left hook and throwing his big punches, you see Moses timing him over those, or I do at least, and it's not like I'm writing Dillian off. I'm just giving my pick on what I believe is potentially a big star in the division. If this was the welterweight division or the middleweight division or one of the lighter divisions, I wouldn't be giving Dillian the puncher's chance, the fighter's chance that I am in this fight, because if he does land, he is capable of hurting and maybe even stopping Moses. Moses knows that as well. So It's a bit like when Alexander Usyk fought Daniel Dubois. He knew the risks early. There are going to be risks here early. Dillian can't afford to sit back in this fight either, because Moses is not the kind of guy that sits back. He's trying to work the guy out. He's hunting for a finish. He wants to stop everyone, and he doesn't want to be hit.
Yeah.
He's admitted that. He does not want to be hit. So he's got all the credentials to go on and be a great fighter. As I say, I describe him as a man with a tinge of arrogance about him, Moses, and I really like that about him. He won't have left a stone unturned. Ben Davison's really smart. Lee Wiley's smart. If he follows the game plan, he will win the fight, in my view.
Final one on this. What happens if Dillian wins? What does this mean for Dillian? And sort of the crazy career arc it would, I guess, prove to be. What if Dillian somehow does land that left hook? And it's a left hook we've seen wobble AJ, completely put Derek Chisora to sleep, knock down Parker, finish Lucas Brown. It's a left hook that has caused damage in this sport for so many years. What if he lands that?
Yeah, if he lands that and Moses doesn't land the uppercut in return, which I can see as well, he probably gets a rematch for $4 million this time against Moses, because they'll want to probably do the rematch and set the record straight so the young man can continue his trajectory. But by that point, there will be something broken in his pipes as well. I mean, in the tunnel of what is the bullet train that his career is right now. I imagine it'd be a rematch. It could be a fight with Joseph Parker and then a rematch if he knocks Moses out horribly. And it could be for the WBO title, because I expect we'll go on to this, I know, but I think it's a massive, massive moment for Dillian as well. It's a potential route to a world title fight, and I think it's why he's taken it. It's reported that he's earning $2 million, Eddie, which is a good payday.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. And in keeping with that, he has got himself into fantastic shape. And like you say, the shape of him, the feel of Dillian when the legs are big and there's no belly, and he's such a big man, isn't he? He's a big, big human being. When he's in shape, he looks dangerous, and I hope he is dangerous on the night, because I want to see Moses tested.
Yeah, agreed.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.